Hi, my name is Jeffrey Smith, and this is the long-awaited deep dive that I've been talking about for the semantic tags functionality that's inside the plugin. And so what we're going to cover today is how to implement semantic tags, what they are, the importance of utilizing them, which is based on schema. Schema is a very important component to helping search engines understand the topics on your website. And we're going to uncover that in greater detail throughout this presentation, but this is really going to help by setting the stage first and foremost. And so when we think about Google and the entire purpose of Google, their mission statement was to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And so I prefer to think of this as crawl and serve. And so if each of your pages can do that better against those who you're up against, it's like winning the battle before you even set foot on the field, making sure that your content is accessible, and more importantly, that it actually serves a purpose. Ultimately, search engines, since they are designed to organize the world's information, how is it that they can do this? Now, as amazing as they are, and as amazing as all the algorithms are, it's still contingent upon one thing, and that one thing is language. And so by utilizing language and understanding the relationships between phrases, their core topics, understanding that it's not about strings anymore, it's about things. And so if you can identify entities in either by utilizing something like a person, a place, or a thing, search engines utilize this information through something called linked data. Now, linked data essentially is a structure of data that's interlinked, and so that data becomes more useful through these semantic queries. And so even though there's a variety of web technologies that you can use to implement that, the key takeaway to this is that, like we said, language is the crux that search engines must bow to. And so if you understand that and you utilize their language to speak with them in a way that they understand by using linked data and using schema, which is a type of linked data, then you can essentially extend their usefulness as well as serve them information that you find useful, that you know that your end users will find useful, and ultimately by you organizing your information in a very succinct fashion, this will help you in ranking higher because you're essentially creating this what we call disambiguation. And so essentially to go back to this point, that instead of the bots just crawling web pages for human readers, linked data essentially extends that information to share it in a way that it can be read automatically by computers, and more specifically bots. And so part of the vision of linked data is for the internet to become a global database, which goes back into the whole idea of organizing the world's information to make it accessible and useful. So we're talking about crawling and serving in this regard. And so this is where you have the opportunity to mark up your content in such a way that it's speaking to the bots in their own language, and you're serving the end user by doing something called disambiguation. And so if you've seen something in quotation marks or in brackets, and you always wonder, what does that mean? Well, disambiguation simply means it's the removal of ambiguity. And so it makes something clear. It narrows down the meanings of words, and it tends to break it down so that you're taking away any confusion. And so what you have to understand is that machines need help. And so this is your opportunity to essentially control the frame, and you do that by controlling the rails that the bots use to discover and grade your content. And so one point you need to understand is that links are the fabric of the web, that essentially you can't get to another web page within your site or any other website without links. And so understanding the power of links and what they represent as far as ways to help the bots discover your content, as well as ways for you to essentially create more weight for your pages, is extremely important. So we'll get into a little bit more about that. But ideally, what we want to make sure is that you're giving Google what they think they need to become part of that seed set. And that seed set is essentially the core crux of documents online that are considered the topical authority for that subject. So your whole purpose of this is to create subject matter expertise. And this is where we essentially get into the whole semantic tags and the components of what we consider a vocabulary. What is a vocabulary? What's the importance of a vocabulary? Well, essentially, it's just you're helping to break things down. And so I can give you an example of a vocabulary that we created for one of our clients in the past. And this is a client of ours. Let me just find this right here. Best LA Neighborhoods. We had done this several years back, in fact, and so we're using structured data, and we're using a very specific type of organizing information that we call siloing, which is where you're putting everything in its proper place. Now, Bruce Clay created this. If you want to look up Bruce Clay and look up what siloing means, he essentially framed that term based upon the fact that if you're in the Midwest and you're driving along a road and off in the farm in the distance, you see a silo sticking up above the peaks and valleys of the hills, it's something that stands out. And so that's the whole point, that you create silos or topics in your website that essentially contain all the things that are relevant to it. And so in this instance, what we did is, this is a real estate agent that's selling mid-century modern homes. And so we basically utilized that, the understanding that the web is really about organizing, like I said, things instead of strings. And so we took the entire conversation around real estate, which means the architects, the type of architecture, the neighborhoods, the locations, and all the elements inside of that. And we actually built out this infrastructure because, once again, Google's purpose is to organize the world's information. So the more that we help and assist in doing this, the higher we can elevate those rankings. And so this client ranks for 1,500 keywords. We did not use backlinks to create this. We actually just used site structure, internal linking, which is why I told you about the importance of linking before, the topics, and built it out like so. So basically, you can see that in our mid-century modern, we have homes for sale, architecture, and decor and furniture. But the whole purpose of this was to build the topic. And so mid-century modern, this is our vocabulary page. So if you're new to the topic or you're trying to figure out what it is, you can see that all these different components, Le Corbusier, all the Bauhaus School by Walter Gropius, all these different components, everything is essentially here. All the information, the nomenclature of this topic is contained in these pages that are designed to essentially serve as an index. If we talk about Los Angeles, we link there. If the word mid-century modern is mentioned anywhere, it links to this page. You can see that we talk about open floor plans and case study houses. So if we go back to the point that this is a site that's designed to appeal to end users and somebody who is familiar with mid-century modern architecture and homes, they want to know that you know what you're doing. So this person happens to be an excellent writer, who's Sonia Koch, who's the creator of this site. We just helped her essentially organize that information and put it in a way that makes sense. And so, we talked about, this is the mid-century modern component. We also organized the site by neighborhoods, right? So when you go to each neighborhood in Los Angeles, we literally do a deep dive on that. And this is how you utilize vocabulary. So this is what I'm referring to when I'm saying to you the importance of building out a vocabulary for your site. This is the idea behind how you would do that, why you would do that. And just to give you an example of some of the results that we're able to create for this and show you some of the things that Best LA Neighborhoods ranks for. Because we have 1,466 keywords that this site ranks for. You can see that essentially they rank for the main phrase itself. All the different locations that we talked about, like mid-century modern architecture, modern homes, the actual architects' names, all these types of things are part of that conversation. And so when the bots come along and they see those phrases on the page itself, they can understand the relationships between those words. And so for example, if the word diamond appears on a page and the word shiny appears next to it, it knows that you're talking about a physical diamond. If the word hot dog or mitt appears next to that somewhere else in the document, then it knows you're talking about a baseball diamond. And so, much in the same way, this is how you essentially take your content, and by writing it in a specific way, by including things that have topical depth and breadth, you can essentially devour an entire conversation. And so we had talked about the different ways of doing that by creating a very specific type of vocabulary. So that if somebody's if they're not familiar with Atwater Village, well, they can come here and figure that out. They can see that there's, Spanish style houses. If we're talking about that and you want to know what that is, well, here's an example of a Spanish style house. And so I simply implore you to think of the way that you can make something like this work for your website by essentially creating topical depth, by creating multiple, having an apex of something, which we call the silo term. This is your main topic. The main topic is real estate, or at least in this case, it's actually mid-century modern real estate. And we're talking about the locations that are relevant to it, If there's any mention about architecture, it goes to the architecture page. And so you can do this type of thing with the deep link juggernaut. If you're familiar with our plugin, you can actually, at any given time, you can simply proceed to the plugin. Over here in the SEO settings, you've got the deep link juggernaut. Open that tab up, and then you're going to basically put your main topics in the locations that you'd like them to link to. So I can say that if the word property appears, I want it to link to this page. If the word real estate appears, link it here. You can actually control your content link settings. But like I said, I don't want to go too far off topic with this, but the entire point of this is that you really do want to create a vocabulary. And so for the sake of this exercise, what I'm going to do is, we had talked a little bit about the importance of vocabulary, so I just want to make sure that is clear. All right. Now we can go into a little bit more about how to build a page. There's some things that you can take away from this. Questions and answers are extremely powerful, and so one way that you can find questions for your website is to look at something that's called Answer the Public. And so if we just use this example of, we created a silo on one of our websites that is actually, we just designed it around real estate. So I showed you how we had built that out for clients in the past. I'm simply imploring you to do the same for yourself. If you have existing pages in your site, you already have your link structures in place, you can do that. That's called virtual theming. If you want to be really strict with it, you can create something that's called silo. And so you use the silo builder, you click the link, you basically click home, and then whatever you add here will become the first topic or the silo. So I basically typed in real estate. After that, I touched real estate, I typed in residential and commercial. That became my categories, if you will. And then the third tier down, it's my what we call supporting articles. And so in this instance, I used the supporting articles: homes for sale under residential, and rental properties under residential. Under commercial, I used office buildings for sale and lots for sale. And so instead of having to build all that out page by page, I came in here, I built this out in a matter of less than a minute. And if you open this page up, you can see that it actually creates the internal link structures as well for the navigation. So if I click into real estate, I now go to my real estate landing page. Just to break away briefly, I'll just give you an example. We talked about siloing, or just briefly siloing. And so the idea is that you create your main silo landing page. So we used real estate as the example. The categories, once again, are the market defining terms. And so we've used commercial and residential. And then the supporting articles are the subtopics to the categories. They're either the types of properties, the geolocale, or even questions that people are searching for right now. And so for one example of that is you could create a page that's all about single family homes for under $300,000. You write an in-depth article on that. You add the appropriate things such as relevant links. You could add a video. You could add attributes on your images to make sure that your images are very clear by defining those in the media library inside of SEO Ultimate Pro. And more importantly, you use schema. So another example is office buildings for sale and location. So one of the things that's important is that if you're going to use the silo functionality, then you only want to link within the same silo. We'll cover a way that you can do, you can basically protect your link structures later on. But as you can see here, by me just using the silo builder, it's essentially doing that. So now that we're at the top of the topic, the silo landing page, this is where I have my in-depth article that's based upon the semantic ontologies of the market. And so the more useful the content is, and the more it utilizes that topical breadth, the more this will set the tone for all those sibling pages. This also serves as a page to implement internal linking to your category pages. And so from the standpoint of semantic siloing, this is the apex. And so there's a couple of things you can do. Number one, you can use the page level semantic tags and call out specific things. If you're wondering what that is, I'll show you. If you go to this page and you edit the page, or any page for that matter, once you scroll down, you actually have the ability at the page level to add a semantic tag. Now, the purpose of this is you want to at least add 3 tags. Number one, if this is real estate, then I could add a tag about real estate. I could add another thing about commercial properties, if you will. And so what we've done is we have 2 options. We can use the page level tag functionality to just add information to this page itself. We also have over here in the menu the semantic tags functionality, where you can add an entire tag that will be used or linked to every single page that you want that's based upon that topic. So I know that real estate is extremely important. So what I did is I added my name, which is the word real estate. I added the keyword real estate. I added the citation reference, which in this case was Wikipedia, because I'm linking to Wikipedia, which I'll show you here in a second. And I actually added my link. So if I create my tag, after that I edit it. So here's what it looks like. Real estate. I actually share this in another video on how I actually got this really cool content about this. So I put my citation as Wikipedia, the keywords real estate, and I added my link. And so what this is doing is, it's disambiguating my content. We talked about Google, crawling and serving. It's helping Google understand that my page is about real estate. Now, if I plan to use this on a number of different pages, I can simply create a tag page, and then I can link my other documents to it. And by doing that, it's essentially linking to a tag page, and it's saying that I am creating my own vocabulary, much like we did on Best LA Neighborhoods, and much like Wikipedia does. Essentially Wikipedia is an encyclopedia. That's its purpose. It helps to break down in non-promotional format the content that helps a bot understand. And so if I wanted to simply have this information on a page, and so I'll create actually a new page to do this, just to make a point. Create a new page. What is real estate? Right? I've got my content here, blah, blah, blah. I go down here to my semantic tag. That's my keyword. What is real estate? My citation, I'll just say Wikipedia. My URL. And my description, I'm just going to paste my content over here. When I go to Wikipedia, type in real estate, this becomes my destination. I am citing this source to say that my page is about this topic. All right. So that's all I'm saying. So this is my URL, the citation reference. Now, when I save my changes, so this is what we consider a page level tag, that this will only appear on this page. And so for this exercise, you typically want to use up to 3 tags at the page level, just to really help Google disambiguate what it is. And so the more specific, the better. You can use it. You can actually use it as a question. You can use that that information to link to your tag pages themselves later on as the citation. So we're just going to go over a few exercises on ways that you can use it. So if I view this page, you really can't see anything here. But the cool thing is that we talked about disambiguation and making things clear. So if I actually were to look at this page, and you can use the SEO menu, go to keyword research, and you can see the Google Structured Data Testing tool. And I pop this URL over here. You'll see that we have a creative work, and now that information, which is really leading the bots to help them disambiguate your content or really understand it, can see all of these really juicy phrases that we're talking about. Things that are talking about plumbing, tenants, financing, real estate, underlying securities, etc. So it's really helping Google to get the gist of what is on my page. And so if you think about the old school version of keywords and stuffing keywords in a page, which really you can't do anymore, this is a better way, because you're just saying, this is the crux of my topic. I am helping Google understand what this is. Okay, so that's one way to use it at the page level. If I want to simply link, that's my main page, the what is real estate page. If I wanted to link this somewhere, if I would just go back and edit the page, and if I wanted to link this to the global real estate tag, then I would simply do it like this. So let's just go down. First of all, I'm going to edit and delete this. I just click the delete option if I want to delete it. Now I've deleted my semantic tag from here. Okay, so there's nothing here in schema. If I were to go back and just look at this under the global testing tool now, see that there's nothing there, right? It's just a H entry. So this is the value of using the bots and helping them understand in their own language. But if I were to use real estate, since it is a tag, we use this in the wiki area here, and I were to add this, well, now what I'm doing is I'm essentially using the global tag that I've created that's talking about real estate over here, this global page over here that has all this juicy information, right? This is my tag page. This is essentially, if somebody were to stumble on this and click the link, this word, the link to the word real estate, they could read all about it, and that's the whole point. So I go back here. I've added the global real estate tag to this document to bind it to it. And if I click update, now mind you, on this page itself, there's still no schema, right? But if I go over to my real estate page now, or my wiki global tag that's talking about my main topic, and I click refresh, well, what you'll notice is that my what is real estate and my other page, which is my real landing page, my silo landing page that I want to show to people. This is my front-facing commercial component of my page that's all about real estate, so to speak. I'm using the semantic silo of this semantic tag for real estate to basically link to it. And this is a powerful way that I'm creating my own taxonomy. And what I mean by that is like a blog roll, where if you have a blog and you have all these different siblings inside of it, that's essentially what I'm doing. But this becomes a destination for link building. So if you want to build links, you build links. If you have stacks built out, and I'll provide some links on where you can buy stacks and things of that nature, RYS stacks that are going to build a variety of different types of media documents, Google Drive assets, and things like that towards this page, so that you can essentially get power into this page so it will rank and actually start to link to the other pages that you want to rank. That will help this page take off. And so the point is, this is what we call semantic siloing, because if you now take this vocabulary page, and if I were to take this and pop it into the structured data testing test, then you'll see that right here, what we have is the creative work that essentially shows that this is my real estate tag page. I've got all my useful information in here, and it is showing all those phrases that have that co-citation. That's extremely important for a bot to understand what that is. And so this is the page that if we wanted to create a global reference, once again, that just showcases, we actually create one tag in this instance, and then we would just link all the pages that mention this topic to it by using the sidebar or that wiki component over here. By just using wiki, you add the tag, you save your changes, and now instead of having to mark it up on this page, it's showing you that this is part of that topic, and we are helping to disambiguate the content. Okay. Second option, once again, is to use the page level, which if I were to create a brand new page, and let's just say this one were about rental properties, and I wanted to go down and create a tag about rental properties. Well, I can go down to my semantic tag and my keyword, rental properties, my citation. Now you can use any citation you want. I don't want you to think that you always have to use Wikipedia, but ideally something that's ranking on the first page for this is usually a really good indication that it's really kind of important. So I'm just going to go rental property. And if I go here, then you can see that renting is the phrase that comes up for that, or rental agreements. I'm going to use the URL citation source. In this case, I'm just saying that I'm citing Wikipedia. And I could say this is my in-depth description. And now the thing about this is you want to make, you want to make this non-promotional. You want to make it succinct. You could use the whole 50 words or less to see if you can capture the featured snippet as a result of that, or you could actually add an in-depth article. But ideally, the more that you leverage the fact of non-promotional tags, the better, because Google will see right through a spammy description and they can sort of ding you for it. So essentially, and I could say rental properties. Okay, but the idea is that I'm simply helping them understand what this page is about on the page level itself. The other option that I could do is I could actually, instead of using my my Wikipedia reference, I could actually use my own global tag page as a reference too, and just sort of summon it like that if I wanted to add another layer of clarity to this page about that topic. Let's just go ahead, and if I just publish this, you'll see what I've done. If I view the page, you can't see anything here, but if you go to the Google Structured Data Testing tool, you will see that information. And this is the value of semantic tags. See, it's a creative work, and you can see that I have helped that bot discover my content. It's linking to a very specific website in this instance that's saying that this is the subject matter authority. If I'm really trying to create more weight as my own site as a subject matter expert, I can actually do it by taking it a step further by using my own internal wiki page or silo page or something like that as a reference. Another thing you can do is you can take it a step further. If I were to go over here to, let's just do rental properties. I think it's this page here. If I were to use this page for my rental properties like 1, 2, and 3, if I go over to homes for sale, you can see that what I've done here is I've just embedded a Google search result. And so if I have something that's local, you can do that by simply using Google Maps. You can view the larger map, for example. Once you find your location on the map, then what you do is you go over here to the share link. You can grab that link as a share option. So this is not the embed functionality, but this is just to share the link. And so what I'm doing in this case, or what I've done in this case, is I've told Google that I want to really create more relevance for that physical location that's there. And what I've done is, if you'll notice, if you scroll down, I added the iframe source, but further down the page, this is that little trick for local. What I did is I actually added that location from Google Maps. I just basically created the citation. And what I did is I added that location. I took the keyword, I made it that location here. I added Google Maps to the citation, and I put that link in. So let's just add another tag from that region, just so we can find something that's close to that location. Let's not use Gift of Serenity Massage. Let's find another location that's similar to that. Norwood Acres, okay? So if I were to add Norwood Acres, so to speak, if I wanted to build a little more relevance for that, I go back to my post. I come down here, create a new semantic tag. Basically say Google Maps. For my citation, my URL is here, that link, and it's my citation for Norwood Acres, for acres. I can see you guys looking at me, that's why I type funny. All right, so here's the point. So I'm adding another layer right here to just mark my content up. When I click update, now what you'll see is if I go back to this page, nothing really changes. This is the front end. What you can't see, like I said, is the cool stuff. It's the schema on the back end. If I were to go back to this page and I hit refresh, now what you'll see is I've got the Norwood Acres here as well. Because what I did is I did not amend. I wanted to show you that really important point. When you're adding additional schema, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you amend. And so I'll go back and do this. This one is called Evolve Arbitorium. I'm going to share. I missed a very important point that I wanted to tell you guys. Anytime that you're adding schema to a page or adding additional schema to a page, you go back to that residential, rental properties, actually homes for sale. Even though I have this on the page, what I did is I overwrote the schema. So let's go ahead and edit this post again. If I scroll down, you'll see that I only have one type here. So anytime that I want to add more than one listing, I must click append. I'm glad that I did that, even though it was a mistake by me not doing that. So that way you're essentially adding more schema to this location. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my semantic tag, pop my URL in. It's called Evolve Arbitorium. Citation is Google Maps. My URL is there, and this is my in-depth description for Evolve. Okay, now that I've clicked append, guys, I'll click update. We'll go back now, take a look at the structured data testing tool, and you'll see the multiple listings. See, now I have both items there, okay? So this is essentially how you would do that, and you can go as deep as you want. Like I said, don't spam the bots, but this is the idea behind it. If you have a local geo-specific page, this is something that's very good to use. on your about page, or if you have organization markup, you can use your own Google link as a citation URL. This is, once again, I've used this example just to showcase the value of adding layers of schema to disambiguate your content. So, first thing that we did is we actually created a physical silo called real estate. If we go back here, which means that I created a main topic in my page and got my in-depth article here. Another thing you can do, we did discuss briefly the idea of using frequently asked questions. I will share that markup with you guys, but essentially what that does is it allows you to surface in Google's results with what we call FAQ markup. FAQ markup is extremely powerful. And what I've done is I've got this little piece of HTML here that allows you to create these jump links. And when you click a jump link, it jumps down to the relevant part of the page. And what I've done is I've marked up the schema in this example here so you can see those questions and answers. And so on the residential and commercial pages, what I did is you can see this HTML. And this is where you would essentially create very detailed questions and answers about your topics to, once again, disambiguate your content. So the idea on your page, you've got your H1 tag, which is your main topic, your H2 tag, which is your synonym, your H3 tags become your topics for these, what we call these jump links. And so questions and answers schema for jump links is extremely powerful. And here's how you would implement that. Like I said, you replace the text in the code. Once you click it, it jumps down to the page. But more importantly, in addition to the other layers of the things that we had talked about before, which is either your page level semantic tag or your global semantic tag, where you're going to use it to refer to any page or post that you want to link to, you have this option. And so if we take this page, now we're to look at this in the structured data testing tool. And you can see what I'm talking about here. On the FAQ page, I've got my question 1, my answer, my question 2, my answer, so on and so forth. And so this actually gets served up in schema as well. And so I will provide this so that you can see the power of this in your own builds. You can actually put the FAQ page schema on the page itself. There's another way that you can do it for just one question, and that's basically by going over here. This is my QA schema, so to speak. FAQ is when you have a number of questions. My questions and answers schema is an option that you can do that's inside the plugin as well. Over here from the drop down, we've got a QA page. So you put your question. This is the long form answer. Answer count, how many people have talked about this. Let's just say 10, total number of votes. We're just going to say 5 people have all given this the vote. And we do year, month, and date. So 2020, month is 5, date is 25. Give my name. Telling you I can't type when I have people looking at me. And so this is the accepted answer. Pretty much the same answer as above. And if you have a domain or the page that you're talking about, put that URL here. All right. So I've done that. You see my schemas here. If I just click Save Changes, or Publish rather, now that I've got my QA schema, I can take this. And this is for when you're creating a supporting article that's all about one topic. You can do it like that. Go to your structured data testing tool, pop it in, and you should have your QA schema here, your QA page with all of your relevant information. Okay, so there's lots of powerful things you can do, and you can see that this is how it would look when it would surface in a result. So very powerful stuff. We've talked about the power of vocabulary. If we just recap really quickly, we talked about the importance of Google's purpose, which is basically making everything accessible and useful, how they crawl and serve, but actually you should make sure that your pages are serving the intent of the person who's actually looking for more information to make it relevant. Organization happens from using language. The way that you can strengthen that language is through using semantic queries or semantic tags to essentially extend that global database, to extend your site into the conversation of global databases to help you stand out. And you do that by creating clarity, by removing any kind of things that have ambiguity. All right. And then furthermore, the way that you go about that is that you can actually create really semantically relevant structures called siloing. You've got your main silo term, your categories, and your supporting articles under each. Furthermore, on your category pages, you want to build out enough topical content, 1,700 words or more, that includes all the different topics, making sure that your link structures are built out properly. If you use the silo builder, it does that automatically. Then the next thing you would do is you would actually go back to the critical pages and add either page level semantic tags or the global tags that you can use from over here by just looking at post semantic tags. You build out your global vocabulary over here, all the important topics in your site. And if you needed to actually associate something, then you would just go over here on the sidebar under wiki, type in the tag name, and it would pop up. And now you would be essentially adding this page to that tag page's relationship, and therefore having a way to build links back to your content from said tag pages. Or you can use the local page level tag feature to add more clarity about things such as locations, such as the main topic of the site or whatever the topic is on the site. And the last thing we covered is how to actually use questions and answer schema in addition to frequently asked questions schema, which I will share this example where you can just basically grab this little piece of text. You're going to go to your page. Once you add a new page or post, simply paste this in here in the text editor, complete your answers, and then publish it. And in which case you could then see that information populated in schema, as well as for the end user, if you were to take that over to the structured data testing tool. All right, I know it's a mouthful. Hopefully you guys, if you have any questions, let me know. But this is the kind of fun stuff that you can do to go back to the example that we started with of making sure that Google understands the content on your pages, that each thing has a place in the site, so that you basically have built out a vocabulary. So if somebody were to stumble across a page in your site and click a link, well, they know what everything means. But more importantly, search engines understand the intent. There's a real topical way that they can crawl the site. You know, this particular site's ranking for architects, different locations, you name it, all these different places that are really important if you're into that type of thing, like the Wong House. So this is very powerful once you get this right, because you're essentially speaking to the bots in their own language. And so I'm just encouraging you, this is your opportunity to take this deep dive and literally apply it in a way that makes the most sense to your site. All right. Thank you for listening.